Have you ever watched the person you love become a complete stranger right before your eyes? I saw it happen on a Tuesday night, under the cold, sterile glow of our kitchen's recessed lighting.
Oh.
The air was thick with the scent of garlic and betrayal. Sarah was across the island, scrolling through her phone, a faint, smug smile playing on her lips that had nothing to do with me. We were living in the same house, but we hadn't shared the same space in months. The silence between us was a canyon. I'd just come from the spare bedroom, from the small wooden box in the back of the closet where we kept things: old passports, birth certificates, spare keys, and the spare keys to her new Mercedes, the one I'd bought her for our anniversary, were gone. I cleared my throat, and her eyes flickered up, annoyed by the interruption. That is, when I saw it, the complete and utter void where her love for me used to be. The question I was about to ask felt like pulling the pin on a grenade. If you genuinely enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel. Tell us where you're from and what time it is right now. It's always fascinating to know how far our story flows. Hey, I said, my voice unnervingly calm. I was just looking in the key drawer. The spares for your car are missing. Any idea where they went? She lost all color. It wasn't a gradual paling. It was instantaneous, as if a switch had been flipped, draining the life from her face. Her eyes darted around the room, looking for an escape hatch, a lie she could grab onto. That was the moment. The moment the quiet, gnawing suspicion that had been eating me alive for 6 months turned into a roaring, undeniable certainty. My wife, my Sarah, was cheating on me. The humiliation was a physical blow, knocking the air from my lungs. I thought of all the late nights she'd explained away as work dinners, the sudden obsession with her phone. The way she started dressing for a trip to the grocery store like she was heading to a gala at the Drake Hotel off Michigan Avenue. It all clicked into place, a horrifying mosaic of deceit. She started with a stutter. Oh, the keys. I must have misplaced them. It was a weak, pathetic lie, and we both knew it. From that night on, she became a different person. The warmth was gone, replaced by a chilling, manipulative coldness. She'd gaslight me, twisting my questions into accusations, painting me as the paranoid, controlling husband. She and her lover, whoever he was, felt untouchable, wrapped in their cocoon of arrogance. I felt myself breaking. There were nights I'd just sit in my car in the parking garage of our Chicago high-rise, the city lights blurring through my tears, feeling like a ghost in my own life. But then, something inside me shifted. The grief curdled into a cold, hard resolve. If she was going to destroy our life, I was going to make sure she understood the full cost. The breakdown was over. It was time to build. I started gathering proof. I wasn't a spy, just a man with a broken heart and a clear objective. I hired a private investigator, a grizzled ex-cop, who operated out of a dusty office in the Loop. He was expensive, but worth every penny. The first photos he sent were a gut punch. Sarah, laughing with a man I vaguely recognized from a charity event. Mark, a real estate developer with a slick smile and a reputation for being ruthless. They were at a small, intimate restaurant in Lincoln Park, her hand on his, their heads close together. The PI's report was meticulous. Receipts from the Peninsula Hotel, phone logs filled with late-night calls. He even got audio of them in a public park, her complaining about me, him laughing and calling me a sad, oblivious fool. Each piece of evidence was a nail in the coffin of the man I used to be. I saved everything to a secure, encrypted hard drive. While she was out on her girls' nights, I was meeting with the best divorce attorney in Chicago, a woman named Eleanor Vance, whose courtroom demeanor was legendary. We sat in her Hirie's office overlooking Millennium Park, the silver bean reflecting the cold sky. I laid out the evidence. She didn't flinch. "This is more than enough," Eleanor said, her voice sharp and precise. "We can ruin him professionally and her socially." "What's the goal, Mr. Davies?" I looked out the window. I wanted to feel what I felt. The humiliation. The powerlessness.
Powerless.
I wanted to lose everything. We set the traps. The first was financial. I had our accountant quietly move my personal inheritance into a series of protected trusts. I then encouraged Sarah to go on a shopping spree. "You've been so stressed, honey. Spoil yourself." She did, racking up tens of thousands on credit cards that were unbeknownst to her, solely in her name. The second trap was social. Sarah was the chair of a major charity gala, her crowning social achievement of the year. She'd been planning it for months. The guest list was a who's who of Chicago's elite. I made sure to buy a table right at the front. The final trap was for Mark. Eleanor's team dug into his business dealings. They found a pattern of zoning violations and backdoor deals that were legally gray but ethically bankrupt. We prepared a dossier and anonymously sent it to a hungry reporter at the Chicago Tribune. The night of the gala arrived. The ballroom was a sea of black ties and glittering gowns. Sarah was radiant, moving through the crowd with an unearned confidence. She saw me at my table and gave a tight, annoyed smile, whispering, "What are you doing here?" "Supporting my wife," I said, my voice hollow. Mark was there, of course, holding court at a nearby table, smug and self-assured. The evening wore on, the speeches began. And then, as Sarah took the stage to give her keynote address, it happened. The large screens on either side of her, meant to display donor names, flickered. And then a photo appeared. It was her and Mark kissing on the balcony of the Peninsula Hotel, the city lights twinkling behind them. A collective gasp went through the room. The photo was replaced by another, then another. Text messages scrolled across the screen. Her complaints about me, his condescending replies. The PI's audio played over the ballroom's sound system, her voice echoing in the stunned silence. Sarah stood frozen on the stage, her face a mask of pure horror. She looked at me, her eyes pleading, but I just stared back, my expression unreadable. People started getting up and leaving. Her friends wouldn't meet her gaze. The socialite she'd worked so hard to impress looked at her with disgust. She was ruined, utterly and completely. The next morning, the Tribune article on Mark's shady business practices dropped. His empire began to crumble. The divorce was swift. The judge, looking at the mountain of evidence of her infidelity and profligate spending, was not sympathetic. She got nothing. No alimony, no house. Just the mountain of debt she'd so eagerly accumulated. I saw her one last time, months later. She was working as a hostess at a mid-tier restaurant downtown. The designer clothes were gone, replaced by a cheap, ill-fitting uniform. Arrogance was gone, replaced by a haunted, vacant look. She saw me, and for a moment, her eyes flared with the old hatred. But it died just as quickly, leaving only a hollowed-out emptiness. I didn't say a word. I just turned and walked away. A revenge was complete, but it didn't feel like a victory. It just felt quiet. The city is cold now, even in the summer. The end.